Welcome to the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast on Mintwave Radio and all podcast platforms. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist or healer with an online program and would like to find out how to grow your business whilst having fun podcasting, go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free. Let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Karen Roberts, and today I'm going to be talking about podcasting productivity and how to beat procrastination and get organized. Being an entrepreneur, I always struggled because I wasn't very organized and I could easily get distracted. There are lots of things to do to have a successful podcast, lots of moving parts, and if you're not organized with it, it will become a liability rather than an asset. When you're prepped and tasks are included into your day as non-negotiables, then it will be easy once you're in the habit and you can simply get the job done instead of procrastinating and doing it on the fly. Because if you do, you may give up. Look, 80% of the work is simply committing to showing up and trusting the process. So being organized is key. And as I said, I used to struggle because throughout my journey of being a podcaster, even though I'm not diagnosed, I've come to the conclusion that I am hyper-focused ADHD. And if you'd told me that years ago, I would have said, absolutely not. But the more I've learned, the more I can look back on my life and realize, yes. But I was fortunate enough that it suited what I did for over 25 years. And it actually suits being a podcaster too, because my life before was in the fitness industry. And before I had my own fitness studio, I was a freelance instructor, which meant that I was doing lots of different things. And because of my hyper-focused ADHD, that allowed me to learn lots of different things, actually very easily. But I also had accountability, which you don't have when you're an entrepreneur working by yourself. I had to be in the City of London in a health club on a spin bike with a head mic ready by 7 o'clock on a Monday morning, which meant I had to organize my life to be there at a set time because I couldn't let 50 people sitting on spin bikes down waiting on their instructor to turn up. So there was accountability. I had to be there. It was a non-negotiable. And then I'd have my day structured, doing different things. So I might then, after having a shower, take my massage couch somewhere to go and give somebody a sports massage. And then maybe I've got to be a different part of London by midday to teach body combat, a martial arts-based workout, followed by body pump, which is a workout using a barbell and weights. So although my life was pretty chaotic and all over the place doing lots of different things, it suited my ADHD. And there was no decision making. There was no avoiding doing things or putting it off because I had a set timeline. So I had to be at a certain place at a certain time. So I had to map out my whole day around my work schedule. Now, it's very different when you come to work by yourself as an entrepreneur, sat behind your computer screen all day, just you, and there's no accountability. It's down to you. And I really struggled with this, and I didn't understand why I was struggling with it. And what I found was I was putting off jobs and then I'd leave things to the last minute. And then my hyper-focused ADHD would come in and I would work ridiculous amount of hours because I needed to get the job done. And then, of course, I would hit burnout. And that is no way to live your life. But it doesn't have to be like this. So what I've found, what helps me is having specific times booked out in my day to complete different tasks. Because if I have already booked appointments in my calendar, they have to book at least a day in advance. So the night before, I can look at my calendar and I can see specific slots throughout my day where I can fit these tasks in. So, yes, you've got to be organized in advance to do this. And I don't like to spend too much time on one thing because otherwise I will hit burnout. So, what I found, what works for me is called the Pomodoro technique. And I have just adapted it to suit my personal lifestyle. So, what this means is I will set my phone for 25 minutes before an alarm goes off, and I will focus on one particular task for 25 minutes. Now, when the alarm goes off, it means it's break time. Even if I'm in the flow, it's 5 minutes out. And what I like to do is put music on, either go and have a cup of coffee or fit in a micro workout. Because again, with me before, I used to think you've got to go hard or go home. And I used to teach really high energy classes, about 20 a week. And then I went from that to absolutely nothing because now I'm sat behind my computer screen and I'd lost the accountability of having people there waiting for me to turn up. And so I found I wasn't exercising. And also, I used to think if I can't do a full hour, full on, then I'm not going to do anything, which is absolutely ludicrous. What I'm doing now is sometimes within those 5 minute breaks, I will just do a little micro workout. It might just be 10 press ups or 10 burpees or some sit ups, just a few things, a few different exercises with music that I love on, which means I release a bit of energy and then I go back to my desk and set the timer for another 25 minutes. And what I do is I block out specific hours, no more than 4 throughout the day to get all the things done that I need to that day, even if it's just prepping ahead. Or it could be growing my audience, which is something I need to do every single day, whether that's creating content from a recording of my podcast, whether it's editing, whether it's creating assets. Now, yes, I do have a VA that helps me with a lot of that stuff, but there's always something else that I need to do. Maybe it's prepping for another podcast episode, or it's following up with potential clients. So by doing things in this way, I have found that I'm more productive and I'm getting stuff completed. I don't get distracted by scrolling on social media because I think I've only got 25 minutes. I need to focus on this. I need to get as much of it done, and then having 5 minutes in between is enough of a break from my screen so that I don't hit burnout. Now, maybe some people that don't have hyper-focused ADHD would feel better doing longer blocks and they can sit there and stay undistracted and get the job done. So whatever works for you. But rather than having a massive list of tasks that need to get done, just focus on a few. Start crossing things off a list. It feels so much better to cross off 3 things a day rather than having a massive list of 20 things. And even if you completed 7 of them, there's something missing. Hormones are released when you complete tasks. Rather than being a martyr and having a massive list of things to do, just choose 3 important things that need to be done that particular day and make sure they're blocked out in your calendar as unnegotiables so that you complete them. Now, for me, I used to think that if there was a certain task on my list and I knew it was going to take a long time, I think subconsciously I was putting it off rather than breaking it down into smaller steps and have them blocked in my calendar. So being crystal clear on what needs to be done that particular day will help you stay focused on the task ahead. And rather than sitting behind your screen and telling yourself you're not going to leave there until the task is done, you're more likely to hit burnout. And subconsciously, the next time you have a task like that, the overwhelm may kick in, or confusion. And when there's overwhelm and confusion, nothing gets done. That's how I felt anyway. So it's been hugely beneficial to me using this Pomodoro technique, and it makes life more fun because I have an excuse to put on some music that I love and it breaks up the day. So, what does need to be done when you're organizing your tasks for your podcast? Number one is obviously you need to prep the content for your podcast episode. Ideally, a mixture of solo and interviews with either clients, past clients, or other experts in your niche. And then your solo episodes can be about specific pain points that you help people overcome. So, what is the big promise that people will get when they overcome that particular pain point? Then, what is the process that they need to go through to deal with that pain point? Then, deal with some internal and external limiting beliefs, and then let the listener know what would be the next logical step. So, having 12 episodes prepped in advance will give you back your time so that you can plan all the rest of the steps. So, step two, what is your process for even booking your guests in to your calendar to record the show? What information do you need from them first? Do you need their bio, their headshot, their link for their giveaway? Think about how you're going to prepare them for the episode. Do you have a particular flow, a format that you follow? Let them know in advance so that they are prepared. And also let them know what your process is post-production. Will you create assets for them to use to promote the episode? And can you book in a short live stream to promote the episode when it airs? And number three is the post-production. What needs to be done with editing the episode? Do you need to add the intro and outro, or is that done automatically via inserting a dynamic ad? So maybe you need to create some graphics for that particular episode, the episode thumbnail, or writing the show notes, which can easily be done. There are so many tools out there available. ChatGPT, you can easily create show notes simply from the transcription of the episode. What about writing a blog post about the episode or a LinkedIn article where you can embed the episode directly into the blog post? And some social media posts with emojis to encourage people to listen to the episode. All these things need to be completed after the recording of each episode. So set times in your calendar to complete these tasks. Maybe you need to create some short form videos from the podcast if it was a video, or audiograms if it's just audio. These are all assets and you can keep them in one folder on Google Drive so that everything is in one place. Number 4, are you going to let people know in advance for the episode that's coming out? Do you have a newsletter or are you going to send out an email? Number 5, once the show has aired, now you can give those assets to the guest that you interview to encourage them to promote the episode on their social media. And then number 6, have you blocked out time in your day, every single day, to continue to grow your audience? Add those assets in one form or another for your social media strategy, the written format, video, or audio format, so that you can use it to build influence within that audience. Throughout your social media, what about testimonials or reviews for your podcast? And then finally, how often are you putting out offers? If people are seeing your content consistently, there's got to come a time when you need to ask for the sale. So let people know what your offer is. So it sounds like there's a lot to do when promoting your podcast or using your podcast as a way to drive leads and sales into your business. And they're all important. However, if you break the tasks up and incorporate them into your daily calendar so you know exactly what you need to do that day to move your business forward. So yes, it takes time to prep. It takes practice. And it really is all about being consistent with your efforts. Just because you've launched a podcast It's not build it and they will come. Your podcast can be used as a vehicle to drive leads and sales into your business, but it requires daily, consistent action. Don't be afraid to over communicate to people. We're all busy. People are scrolling on social media. So it's perfectly okay to keep putting your stuff out there because some will miss it, others will forget about it, and they need a reminder. So when you're clear on your process, it will make life a lot easier and it will eventually give you back your time. If you book out specific slots throughout your day to focus, short spurts to get the job done. So if these are all booked in, they are non-negotiable tasks to complete. As I've said in previous episodes, this is a marathon and not a sprint. So find a way to become detached from the outcome and just consider these tasks as just part of your working day and get the job done. If you don't invest your time in the beginning, your message won't get out there. Then there will come a time when there is a tipping point because the more people who listen to your podcast, the more people will be exposed to your podcast and it will become an ever-fulfilling pipeline. Now, if you don't want to spend your time doing some of the tasks, yes, you could have someone do the post-production for you to give you back your time. That is one thing that we do offer because we get it. It is time consuming. However, there are always some things that are unnegotiable that can only be done by you. So when you have a specific process and a strategy to follow, then it really is as simple as knowing what to do when you open up your computer every single day. So small blocks of time broken up with strategically placed breaks so that you won't hit the wall. If you have a podcast already and you're not getting the ROI that you were hoping for, or you're thinking about starting a podcast and want to get crystal clear on the steps that are needed to make your show a success, then simply get in touch. Book a podcast strategy call. Just go to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/appointment. And I can go through the steps with you to help you get clarity. We do also have a course that will take you through each step. And we can also set you up on our own podcast network for instant visibility. And if you want more one-to-one coaching, then we also run VIP days. So get in touch if you want to know more. Thank you for listening. And next week we have the lovely Nicole Christina, and we're going to be talking about unleashing authenticity, a guide to memorable podcast appearances for people who just want to guest on other people's podcasts. So thanks for listening. I will be back next week. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.